Well, Daddy, we realize that right now in Africa, with this pandemic situation, in Africa and the Caribbean, we had the lowest numbers across the world. However, with the situation that's taking place in Brazil now, the numbers are beginning to rise in the region. But yesterday, Trinidad was the eighth Caribbean country to become virus free. And so, yeah, so we were, one of the things I wanted to highlight was the level of solidarity between the Caribbean and Africa. What can you contribute in terms of giving some recognition to the level of solidarity that we see taking place between the continent and the region of the Caribbean?
Well, as both President Kenyatta and Adu Kenyatta, of course, from Kenya, and Adu, from Ghana, visited the Caribbean last year in terms of year of return. Mm-hmm. So they opened their arms to the Caribbean. And as you know, Ethiopia has always been welcoming to the Caribbean in terms of His Excellency Haile Selassie. So, this is ongoing. We've also had good relationships with Namibia and Nigeria. As you know, a lot of Pan-African thought originated in the Caribbean because these were where we had our Moros, these were where we were able to fight and be successful in terms of liberating ourselves from slavery. And as my dad said, we had to liberate ourselves also from mental slavery. So that's where the whole basis of the Pan-African concept came from. So we've always been looking to Africa. That's what Pan-African, the concept of Pan-Africanism is. Yeah. And as my father said, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Yeah. So those of us in the diaspora, we consider ourselves, if you will, the sixth region of Africa. And we want Africa to recognize that politically as well as economically, so that we play a stronger role in terms of the development of the continent itself. As you know, there are 5 regions. As you know, they're uniting them now in terms of free trade zone, which is wonderful because you can't have 55 countries with little small economies. That doesn't work. You need an economy of scale. So you need that whole intercontinental, transcontinental free trade zone with the necessary infrastructure. You also need that connection with us in the diaspora, which is 300 million or more in the diaspora, to help in terms of the development and, as I said, making up that sixth region. We have not only numbers, but we have intellectual resources, technical resources. As Brother Samuel has said there, he worked on Wall Street. I know he wasn't a messenger. I know he was doing the real thing here.
Yes, he was.
Busy pushing around other people's money except my own.
Exactly right. You see, so that's the kind of intellectual resources that we have in the diaspora that we can bring back to the continent. Yeah. Right now, the Prime Minister of Barbados is very, very Pan-African. When I was there in Ghana last year, she was visiting.
Yes.
So, this is all happening at the present time. I think this is part of what we could call the new paradigm.
Oh, yes. I want to big up Miss Motley. She's very, very, very pro-Africa. I like that vibes about her. Yeah, and interestingly, you should mention these things because we had a recent conversation with the deputy chairman of the African Union, and he is working.
Brother crazy.
Yeah, he is working on bringing the Caribbean to the AU. So we are looking to see how we can also be helpful in making that become a reality. But what can you say to strengthen that effort to get us sitting at that one table?
Well, I think it's absolutely necessary. You can't ignore our numbers or our accomplishments, and intellectually and in terms of institutionally. As you know, we are part of the different systems that have been created and flourished in the West. Not just in the Caribbean, but in the United States and in Europe. We have members at every level in almost every area of development in terms of whether it's medicine or it's engineering or if it's investment and business, etc., and so on. So that's a huge intellectual endowment that we can bring back to Africa.
Yes.
And I think every group depends on their diaspora. India depends on its diaspora. China depends on its diaspora for development, and continues to do so. So that institutionally, it's important for Africa to make sure that its diaspora is on the table in a functional way, legally and continuously, not just peripherally, and in terms of sort of you might say romantic statements, but in terms of being able to contribute in a real structure of economic and cultural development. Because as you know, brethren, culture is important. Culture is foundational. You see, and culture is dependent on history. It's dependent on philosophy, and we need to move from there to the economic aspect of it and the political aspect of it. So it's not just the political, but all of these other things have to be brought together so that we really do share a common platform, if you will, going forward.
Brother Julius, as well, I'm a member of the 12th Tribe of Israel Rastafarian organization, which was founded in Jamaica by a gentleman, I don't know if you're familiar with his name, Dr. Vernon Carrington. We call him Prophet Gad.
Okay.
Yes, he had organized us under our birth month, according to the 12 lunar moons and its connection to Jacob in the Bible, and the body. So we had repatriated. He had sent home pioneers to the land over 40-something years now, who have been living in Shashamane for over 40 years, integrated. I have married. I have children like myself. I'm married to an Ethiopian, and so we see that our children are now speaking the language, and they're integrated into the society. Even myself, we've formed a production company called the Imperial Majestic company, which deals with Africa development through the love of reggae music. We have been promoting reggae music here on the ground for the past 18 years, integrating the musical scales of Ethiopia into the Jamaican drum and bass, and and I've made quite an inroad for us. So when you're speaking about these cultural connections and that we have to develop, I think that we the Rastafarians, especially, of all the mansion, but especially of the 12th Tribe of Israel, have made that forward step, not just in Ethiopia only, but also in Kenya, in Ghana. We're there. But the repatriation energy has kind of declined, because I noticed there's not much efforts to put into repatriation, and it's not being supported by the government. So you have anything to say about that? Maybe other wiser head than I.
Yes, I think that the energy is coming up again, just like the energy for Garvey is coming up again. I receive calls from all over the place, and there've been a lot of people who have been focused on the year of return. As you know, last year was supposedly the 400th year, and that we commemorated the origin of slavery. And that was in terms of Jamestown, Virginia, in the United States in 1619. So there were a lot of people who were going back. And there's a lot going on now in terms of social media, in terms of identifying with Africa as our homeland, and in terms of repatriating. So I think you're going to find more and more of that, as well as you're going to find more and more people doing businesses. And therefore, that's why it's important for you, say, to link up with me, et cetera, and others. And because there are a number of business opportunities that are available on this side as well as on that side. And the most important thing really is for us to be able to communicate and to network, because that's a great advantage for us. You mentioned 12 tribes and you're in different places and so on, not just in Jamaica. So that creates an international network. You're in England, you're in America, you're there in Ethiopia and so on and so forth. So that creates a wonderful network to be able to exchange goods and services and to know what's going on the continent and elsewhere and so on and so forth, and to take advantage of opportunities. So you're going to find more and more people coming, quotes, back to Africa, and you're going to find more and more people, when I say African people, I'm talking about African people, investing in Africa, not just the bloodsuckers, coming from these other places. But true Africans in the Garvey tradition, really trying to build the continent and build our people in terms of a renaissance of African civilization. It's coming. It's, as my dad would say, it's coming in the whirlwind. This is the whirlwind.
Well, the pandemic is one of them kind of thing, Daddy. Yeah, man. As we say, paradigm shift.
And I must mention this because I have the opportunity to. Well, Prophet Gad, Vernon Carrington, he taught us and he told us that Marcus Garvey is his prophet. He got his spiritual directions and strength from Marcus Garvey, because Marcus Garvey said one God, one aim, one destiny. And if you take the initials of G-A-D, it spells Gad. So he felt that connection, that metaphysical connection.
Wonderful.
And he actually repatriated.
A majority of the people that have repatriated here in Ethiopia were sent by Gatman.
Yeah.
So so it's a significant achievement.
He's like a fulfillment of Garvey in the sense of bringing. It wasn't on the ship, but we came by plane, as the Bible says. Swift beast and fast chariots.
Wonderful. Yeah, I believe that Rastafarianism is an extension of Garveyism, particularly in the spiritual dimension and the way of Aita living, the natural living. And, yeah.
Yes.
But Garvey is the psychology and the philosophy and the basic historical understanding of who we are as a people.
Yes, I just take this time out to say blessedness and big up to the Rastafarian mansions all over the world. I'm speaking of the Nyabingi, Bobo Shanti, the 12 Tribe of Israel, the Ethiopian World Federation, all independent Rastafarians, many mansions, but one house. Because many times people will say that we are divided, we are not united, but I know deep down in the core, in the spiritual core, we are united. It's just we need a resurgence, that energy to come back.
And what we are doing here, I think, will help to reignite that interest and energy. Because as we say, the signs of the times that we're living in.
And we're looking forward in working with you in the future, connecting with you for logistical support and historical information that we might need. We're pressing forward, Mr. Julius.
Yeah, man.
Wonderful. I look forward to working with you guys too, because as I mentioned, networking and communication is of extreme importance. Mm-hmm. And when you understand what my father was able to do with his voice and a newspaper in terms of pulling together 10 million people, and now we have the internet, we have Zoom, we have, all kinds of means of podcasts, all kinds of means of communication. Then there is no reason for us not to be united. So, brethren, we have to work together, right?
Yeah, man, most definitely. So, we're going out in closing. I would want you to give a word of encouragement to our African families of how to give our people some encouragement for uniting, for strengthening the unity, to make African unity real. Some words of encouragement.
Well, united we stand and divided we fall. And as Carmen and Krumah said, Africa must unite. And we must unite now. Africans must unite. We must unite now. And under the banner of one God, one aim, one destiny, and one love. Peace and blessings, my brothers.
Yes, my brother. We'll be keeping in touch, okay?
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Glad we made the reconnection. All right.
Take care. Thanks.
And thanks, Sister Constance, for using her, allowing you to use her tablet.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll
Take
talk
care,
soon.
brethren.
Yeah, man. Jagai,
Yes.
peace and protect. One love. One love.
One love.
One love. Bye-bye.